This is WISC News 3 with Beth Zerbakken, John Karcher, Ed Addison, and Van Stout.
Good evening, everyone. Beloit police are baffled tonight. They're investigating a string of power line vandalism that's put one youngster in the hospital.
Beth, the 15-year-old girl got second and third-degree burns on her hand. She's in fair condition tonight, but police say she might have to have her hand amputated. Rock County reporter Dave Mosner has the story from Beloit.
Tonight, police found the braided wires weighted by a padlock hanging over these power lines, making it the 10th time homemade wires and weights like these have been thrown over power lines, carrying 12,000 deadly volts of electricity within arm's reach. Tuesday morning, 15-year-old Teresa Whipp was riding her bike down a neighborhood path when her hand brushed against one of those wires. Police say the rubber wheels on her bike and the fact she was moving may have been what saved her life. No one else has been reported injured. At this point, police have no suspects. Beloit Township Police earlier today speculated the vandalism was related to the phone strike because phone lines run on the same poles. Tonight, Beloit Police say they do not believe these bizarre acts of vandalism have anything to do with the strike. Dave Mosner, WISC News 3, Beloit.
Beloit police want you to have a talk with your kids tomorrow and tell them not to touch anything hanging down from power lines. If you suspect power line tampering, call Beloit Police. There's the number 364-6804 or dial 911. Beth?
Authorities have identified Madison's first drowning victim of the summer. The Dane County coroner says 22-year-old Sheldon Cockfield from Madison drowned while swimming in Lake Monona before 6 this morning. Rescue divers recovered his body more than 4 hours later, about 50 feet off the shores of Law Park. Abiding in the rescue effort was Brubaker, a black lab trained to track those in need of help, even if the scent is underwater.
After a period of time, the scent will rise to the surface and lay on top in an invisible layer.
Two of Cockfield's friends say they were swimming back from a water ski jump when he went under. One swimmer tried to save them, but then they both had to run to a nearby phone to call for help.
A human protest chain sent a message to Moscow, a message of freedom. The people of the Baltic republics, hundreds of thousands of them, held hands in a peaceful demonstration for freedom.
It's a symbol of nonviolent struggle for freedom and for rights of nations and for human rights.
50 years ago today, the people of the Baltics became bargaining chips when the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany signed a non-aggression pact allowing Stalin to absorb the territories. Today's action shows just how much change has come to the Soviet Union. No police were present and no troops to arrest those denouncing Soviet rule. In Poland, young people shouted down with communism outside party headquarters in the Soviet embassy. But their cries were ignored as Poland's two major political forces laid the groundwork for a coalition government. Tadeusz Mazowiecki, who is to become prime minister tomorrow, has told Solidarity leaders he'll give the Communist Party more than 2 posts in his cabinet.
The biggest catch yet in the drug crackdown in Colombia tops our world wrap tonight. More arrests, including the man described as one of the pioneers of the Colombian cocaine business, and the government declared its firm decision to extradite accused drug traffickers to the U.S. President Bush says Colombian and U.S. officials will meet to discuss how Washington can help in the drug battle. That doesn't include sending in U.S. troops. Nobel laureate Desmond Tutu was among anti-apartheid protesters hit by tear gas in Cape Town, South Africa. Young people have been protesting the government's racial policies. 9 flag-draped coffins arrived in Washington today, carrying the bodies of Texas Congressman Mickey Leland and 8 other Americans. They were killed 2 weeks ago when their plane crashed in Ethiopia. For 2 decades, these launch towers were used to send unmanned missions to the moon and planets. Well, today, the old relics of the past were blown up and sent to the bottom of the ocean to become a barrier reef for fish. And Voyager 2 is now ready for its close encounter of Neptune. That will happen tomorrow.
There might be some help for the people who sleep on Madison streets. That story's coming up.
And the battle over VGH is going international.
A new plan to build low-rent apartments unveiled today. A Madison developer wants to build 10 small buildings scattered across Dane County. Each building would have up to 8 apartments. He got a favorable reaction from county officials who are looking for ideas on how to get more low-rent apartments. Madison's lost 400 single-room occupancy apartments in just a couple of years. Many of the remaining ones are at the YMCA on Brook Street, where the waiting list is up to 3 months. But once you get in...
Oh, much better than a park bench. Oh, yeah, beats a railroad road car altogether.
Gray says it's hard to find affordable apartments, and any new projects will certainly help.
Beloit's ABC company has got its checkbook out, and the story tops Wisconsin Wrap tonight. ABC Supply is close to buying 2 divisions of the Certain Teague Corporation, and that could add 50 jobs to its Beloit facility. The deal may be finalized by October and would include 13 Texas distribution centers and 2 plants. Governor Thompson says treaty rights negotiations with the Chippewa may be slowed by a judge's ruling that the sessions be open to public. Juveniles upset over being yelled at by a grocery store owner for selling drugs on his street corner firebombed the store, 15 grand in damage. Mad dashes across campus are a thing of the past. More than 31,000 students have already registered for class by telephone. The automated system started August 7th. Protesters urged the UW to reject a contract to test the bovine growth hormone. Yes, they claim it's not safe, and they threaten to stop buying milk. And the opposition against BGH, that is, extends beyond Wisconsin's borders.
It does. A group in Washington, D.C. is waging, in fact, an international campaign against its use. News 3's Sherry Carabin reports from the nation's capital.
European and Canadian farmers are waging their own battle against the use of bovine somatotropin, or BST, the drug that causes cows to produce more milk. Like Wisconsin, Europe currently has a surplus of milk, and farmers are worried that BST may taint the pure image of milk. The European Parliament has called for a ban on the use of BST in dairy cattle, and commissioners of the European Economic Community are asking for a long-term moratorium. BST-tested milk was also removed from commercial markets in 3 Canadian provinces, including British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario. One Washington bioengineering opponent is leading the international campaign against the use of BST. Andy Kimbrell, the Foundation on Economic Trends, says they have declared August anti-BST month.
And what we're beginning to see is a growing international movement, understanding that bovine growth hormone is a product with no redeeming value. It is bad for farmers. It is very bad for cattle. It's bad for the consumers.
BST manufacturers say, contrary to popular belief, BST can be used to benefit small farmers in Wisconsin and Europe. Unlike much of modern agricultural technology, the only cost to farmers is the product itself and additional feed necessary to maintain a cow's health. Meanwhile, the FDA continues to test BST to determine its reliability and safety to cows. In addition, independent studies, as well as studies conducted by the manufacturers themselves, also continue in the U.S. and Europe. But despite this international campaign, Monsanto, one of the manufacturers of the hormone, has signed an agreement to market BST in the Soviet Union. Sherry Carabin, WISC, News 3, Washington.
Thursday's looking really nice. The sun returns in that forecast, which is coming up.
Really nice?
Yeah.
Good. And after sports, Bob Hope talks football in Packer country.
Know football, and I know that coach knows football, and I think you got a good chance.